Liquid Gold.
Golden Debate Show, Golden Show, earlymorningmouth.com, one of the top podcasts in the whole fucking Golden universe. So please like, comment, share, download from FEMA fucking Region 1. Let's get them likes and hit them comments and them share loads and download share loads up. What? FEMA Region 1.
The science.
earlymorningmouth.com. We didn't go out here. What? Yeah, bring it in. Logan! So go earlymorningmouth.com. Hope your mind's not empty ones. Fact! Such a fact. Fact is that we got to keep eating the email.
The Golden Debate Show. Yeah, the Golden Debate Show. Golden Show. Wow. Golden Debate Show.
Down there, one of those chemicals. There's other guys that they look like. I don't know. That don't make no sense, everybody.
Let's get it in like we like to set it off with 2-minute news from YouTube. Break it down to 2 minutes or less.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of News in 2 Minutes, bringing you the news that you need to know every day. Let's begin. In a reported letter of open admittance to the ulterior motives at work within the Western push for international vaccination programs, the CIA has reportedly ended its use of covert operations within the program's delivery missions. Reports show that the U.S. administration, led by current President Barack Hussein Obama, will disclose a wholly admitted and reportedly secretive memo that judicial nominees wrote declaring it lawful to use armed drones to kill an American terror suspect overseas without the right to a trial or chance to prove his or her innocence. Critics continue to warn that it will only be a short time before unmanned weapons vehicles are used widely against citizens worldwide in place of current judicial systems. A number of healthcare workers are under close observation in Nigeria as officials watch for the spread of Lassa fever, an acute viral illness with symptoms closely resembling Ebola. Health authorities have not ruled out the possibility that the hemorrhagic fever, which holds a global mortality rate of between 15 to 20%, may be continuing to spread throughout the area, with research showing that the disease is often carried asymptomatically through common rats, where it is then aerosolized throughout their excrement. Although media coverage of the disease is somewhat lacking, research shows that health officials have called for the federal government to, as a matter of emergency, establish a virology diagnosis center in the southeast region of the affected area, where officials hope to quickly diagnose and treat those affected by the disease. In other viral news, the Saudi Arabian Ministry of Health has released a daily report for victims of the MERS coronavirus, which continues to highlight an increasing trend in both those affected by the virus and those that have succumbed to its symptoms. Studies continue to show that triclosan, an antibacterial ingredient that is prevalent in thousands of consumer-based products, including soaps, toothpaste, and deodorants, has the ability to cause subtle yet devastating changes in the human body when absorbed in such large numbers, leading a number of conscious health officials to call for a complete ban on the chemical. And to wrap things up, the death toll in Tuesday's bombing in Nigeria is continuing to rise, with researchers noting an uptick in Christian versus Muslim clashes in recent days. Anti-North Korean rhetoric is increasing as researchers report that the country may be close to nuclear-capable missile systems. Health authorities in Japan are reporting a drastic increase in child thyroid cancers near Fukushima, and minor reports of damage are following a downsized 5.6 in Taiwan, followed by a 4.9 in Mexico, completing today's Quake Watch. And that's it for this episode of News in 2 Minutes. Check back tomorrow for more news that the aware need the most. This week's News in 2 Minutes is brought to you by SHTFplan.com, where even the officials go for news. And SQMetals.com.
This is how the government's trying to shut down the Postal Service, which is part of our Constitution and rights. Here's Breaking the 7 every morning.
Breaking news, guys. Another American institution is teetering on the edge of collapse. See, last week, the USPS reported a nearly $2 billion loss for the quarter. And while people point to the rise of digital communication as the main factor, behind the scenes, there's a far more insidious reason that the USPS is standing on its last legs. Here to break it all down, RT political commentator Sam Sachs. What's going on, man?
What's up?
So, what did Congress do back in 2006 to put the U.S. Postal Service in such dire straits?
Well, they passed this law called the Postal Accountability and Enhancement Act. And what the bill basically did is it forced the post office to set up this new retiree health benefits program, which seems all well and good, set up this program to fund health benefits for future retirees. Unfortunately, they require the post office to fund it 75 years into the future, essentially paying for benefits for people who haven't even been born yet, or people who are babies and have no thought about working for the post office yet. And that means that the post office suddenly has to pay and the law required the post office to pre-fund this huge benefit that goes 75 years in the future in a matter of just 10 to 15 years. So what the post office had to do is spend $5 billion every year contributing to this fund, a requirement that no other government agency or business has ever had to comply with. And what you see is, in 2006, the post office is making money, and they had been profitable for the last 4 years as well. 2006 was the peak mail volume year for the post office, but this law is passed requiring them to contribute $5 billion every year, and what you see after that is they lose $5 billion, and they continue losing year in and year out from there, and you start hearing these calls suddenly from conservatives saying, we need to privatize the post office, this is a disaster.
It's actually really devastating, Sam, as someone who mails a lot of artwork out. Is FedEx like paying these congressmen to pass these outrageous bills? I just don't. Is there like a FedEx lobby? And I mean, and of course, privatization is always this argument that it's good
gold,
for,
gold,
the
gold
free market.
everywhere.
However,
Not
for
a
this
drop
subject,
to
it's not
buyer.
better.
Right.
Like
And I think that privatization is a lot of these people are saying the word privatization, but that's not really the right word, because the post office is not a government agency. It's self-funded. It relies on stamps to finance all of its costs. So when they say privatization, they're making everyone think that it's some agency that's funded by taxpayers, funded by the government. Not true at all. What they really want is corporatization. What they really want is, you see the post office, it's got 500,000 unionized workers, they all collect pretty decent wages, and you see these vulture capitalists want to get their hands on this multi-billion-dollar a year industry of mail. So FedEx and UPS that have high overhead costs to pay CEOs, and that are in the process, yes, UPS and FedEx have unions, but these are private sector companies, and we see the way the private sector unions are going. So once you can move over in that direction, you can start crushing those unions as well. So I see it more as corporatization, what's going on here. How can people make more money off mailing letters across America?
Right, the wages are clearly lower, et cetera. I wanted to play a clip from Representative Peter DeFazio talking about this. Really interesting.
Sure.
I guess we'll become the first developed nation on earth without a postal service, just like we're the only developed industrial nation on earth without universal health care. We're the best.
I love that. What can we do to save this national treasure, Sam?
Easy. You change this law that was passed in 2006. You ease that burden of $5 billion a year the post office has to pay every year. Plus, there's been a report showing that they've paid anywhere between $25 and $75 billion overpayment to a retirement system that the Treasury Department owes them. Fix these accounting things and the post office will be profitable. Instead, you see lawmakers looking to end 6-day delivery, cut to 5-day delivery, closing lots of post offices, laying off massive workers, all the wrong idea.
It's really unfortunate. We need to step up. Sam Sachs, really appreciate you coming on.
From Free Speech TV, Free Speech TV. It's about a 4-year-old girl who all medicines didn't work, and now she's using hemp oil and it works.
The best thing for Madeline
So
is that we needed to move out to Colorado. My
My
mother joined me out here in Colorado. When we came out here and Madeline started the medical cannabis, it was, as you heard in that video, it was our only hope before was brain surgery, taking out the whole left side of her brain. And to look at my child and imagine taking out the left side of her brain is very difficult for any mother, for any parent to see that. So when we heard that medical cannabis could help, at first it was scary because you're like, well, I don't want my child getting stoned. I don't want my child smoking pot. Once we realized that it really was an oil that is given, was given to her first 3 times a day. Sublingually in her mouth, and that it wouldn't get her high or anything like that. We slowly started to realize that actually the pharmaceuticals were making her high and that the cannabis was helping her get better. And she was off of all We started the cannabis oil in October, and she was off of all pharmaceuticals by the end of December.
And could you talk about the change, the frequency of the seizures previously before you started this treatment, and what life is now like for your daughter and your family?
Yeah, she had 3 days of video monitoring and testing at Johns Hopkins Hospital in the summer. During that time, we were actually told, and we didn't know this, that 80% of her sleep was seizure activity. She was having so many seizures that she could not learn. She could not add. The neurologist put 2 fingers up and said, what's 1 + 1? And she said 3. She couldn't even add, and at this point she was 8 years old. And she couldn't read. She couldn't do anything. And so basically, once she started the cannabis, it took some time It was a little roller coaster. You know, there was periods of time where she would have more seizures, and there were periods of time where she was very cognitively clear, is the best way to show it. She was coming out of her shell. She had starting to have a quality of life. It wasn't until she was totally off the pharmaceuticals. Now she sleeps through the night. Her EEGs have drastically changed from what they were to what they are now. It's miraculous because, like I said, she's on no pharmaceuticals. She's only on cannabis oil, and her EEGs have drastically changed. She reads
toxoplasmosis.
So here's this next clip, Joe Rogan Experience. Check it out. He has a pretty good podcast. EarlyMorningMouth.com, Golden Show, Go to Debate Show. Check out our other podcasts, music videos.
It affects your brain, does a lot of fucked up shit to your brain.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's super common. And it also, the cat shit gets in the meat. It's like a real issue with fucking cats.
Isn't there something about like some bacteria that gets in, or a virus that gets into a mouse's head and tells it to run inside the?
It's a rat. What it does is, I've talked about this many times in this podcast, but it's been a long time, more than a year. The way it works is, it rewires the rat's sexual reward system, and it makes the rat sexually attracted to the smell of cat piss, to the point where his testes swell up, and he gets he's in estrus. He's hurting. He's got blue balls because he smells this cat piss.
Like Red Band on Hot Rod 5000?
Like Red Band all day. All day. So he is essentially on a double dose of Cialis with an added
acorns.
It does a weird thing to their fear system. It hijacks their fear system, so they're not afraid of cats anymore. There's videos, pull up this video, Brian. It's toxoplasmosis infected rat.
So this next little clip is about the dueling holograms. As you know, Tupac had a hologram, and now a couple weeks ago, last week, Michael Jackson came out. Well, now there's company. Well, the man who invented the Tupac one has a patent on it.
Slave to the rhythm, and
it's just really to get these artists' names still in the news article cipher so that they can get sales.
The questions are this: first of all, was it a patent infringement that happened? Was it cooler than Tupac's hologram? Was it even a hologram in the first place? Let's first take a look at a little clip of the video.
Down there in one of those catacombs, there's other guys that they look like. I don't know. This don't make no sense to everybody.
Pretty incredible.
That is absolutely stunning.
Yeah, and it was kept under wraps until right before the broadcast. And owner of Hologram USA, he's Elkie David. He's the guy who owns the patent for the technology that created the Tupac hologram.
Here's my man Jay Snib from YouTube, The Realist News. Here he breaks down some Obamacare shit.
He said, "Hey, wait,
my father heard him back the other day and took him to the ER. It took fucking 4 hours just for him to be seen, and now to get a checkup, we ain't got insurance. You either make too much or you don't, or you make not enough. You know, you make too much for the Obamacare shit, and then it could be as little as $70 almost to $100. To $700 a fucking month, and then you guys still pay for your medicines and shit, so it's not good.
Per month? It should be 2 per hour. They want 2 per month, and every time they hire somebody, they get a little bonus from the government. So they're hiring people. Good, man, get them jobs out there. Except they're not doing anything but sitting there, doing nothing. Taxpayer money being wasted. Jobs, sure, there's people that work allegedly, but they just sit there and do absolutely nothing. It's not quite my definition of a job. So one of my subscribers
down there in one of those catacombs, there's other guys that they look like. I don't know. This don't make no sense to everybody. Apparently.
He says, "Hey Joe, I love the videos. Very informative. I am an insurance claims processor for Medicare. I work for a company that processes claims and information for Medicare. The CEO has been on conference calls with President Obama. That's how much we are involved. I just wanted to give you a little whistleblowing of myself, or of my own. As of date of service, 5/1/2014, so May 1st, many members, so as he said, as the date of service of the beginning of May starting, many members are going to start to have claims either denied as non-covered or pay at OON rates, meaning that they will have to pay out of pocket towards their deductible. They switched several people over to HMO and PPO plans back in January, forcing them to go to specific providers and forcing huge payments to be made out of pocket. Our company is very busy, and we are constantly under the gun.
Next clip,
to
Uncle
get
Adam
more
and Uncle
claims
John from the No
processed.
Agenda Show. This is the Golden Debate Show.
There's some guy from some
Let's break it
organization I
down.
never heard of.
Comment, share, and
And
download.
he
Let's
was
get the
talking
hits
about
up
how
to
bad those
infinity.
guys from Google and Yahoo
Couple
were.
minutes on empty ones.
So it starts off with McCain just giving these guys grief, especially this is going after the Google guy who apparently is just going to disagree with everything. Yeah, I disagree that it's going up. No, I disagree it's going down. And then he makes a clown of this guy with this first clip, which is McCain versus Google guy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses. If you put that chart back up about the increase in mal-advertising, would the witnesses agree that the problem is getting worse rather than better? Would you agree, Mr. Salem?
I would not. I would not agree.
Could you put your microphone a little closer, please?
Sure.
Thank you. That would help.
That'll help. I don't agree that the problem is getting better. One thing that
is it getting worse?
I'm sorry, it's not. Thank you. I don't believe that it's getting worse.
You don't believe that chart, then?
I have not seen that chart. I saw that from the report. Our indication where we actually.
So you're saying that chart is inaccurate?
That's not the chart. That's not the information that I have, sir.
I see. Maybe you can provide the committee with the information that you have, Mr. Stamos.
Sir, our data has been pretty much steady on the kinds of attempts that we've seen coming inbound.
I need a definition of malvertising.
Malvertising is if you go and there's an ad and you click on it, and the next thing you know, you're on a page that's downloading a virus, or it's
malware.
It's malware.
Why is McCain? Why is this? Why is McCain spending his time talking to these guys about this? Who cares? What is the point of this Q&A?
Good, you walked right into that one. Well, play clip two.
It is called the show, John. This is where we do things together.
Attempts that we've seen coming inbound.
Would you agree that these probably the worst attacks come from overseas, specifically Russia?
Wait a minute. I thought it was China.
You stepped on the line. You stepped on it. Say it. Play the end again.
He said Russia.
Yeah, he said Russia.
Yeah, no, I didn't step on it.
Now the guy part 3, that's where he jumps the shark. Now McCain turns into a dick. And I want to point out something here.
Wait a minute. He turns into a dick?
I'm sorry. What about
down there, one of those calico.
With you?
This other guy that they look like. I don't know. This don't make no sense, man.
McCain now goes back to his dickish nature, and he starts to harass these guys. And the one guy makes the point, and I'm going to make the point, is that most of the crap that really is bad comes from, of all places, which is never mentioned, Ukraine.
Huh?
In fact, if you talk to the FBI or anybody about this, when they're investigating a lot of these problems that are online, as soon as they see the Ukraine IP address, they stop investigating because they can do nothing. You cannot get into Ukraine to catch any criminals that are dealing with this, and it's always about Ukraine. Now, the one guy, and I'm just going to give you and Russia's not the bad actor here, but he's making this point again. Again, this is part of this giant scheme because I'm maybe the only one that thinks this, because of Snowden.
Liquid gold.
We see attacks from all around. It's usually very difficult to have accurately.
Oh, so you have no accurate data as to where it comes from.
Warning.
That's good.
We have accurate data as to where the IP.
Well, then where does it come from?
We see these kinds of attempts from all around the world. Well, you're right. We do see a lot from Eastern Europe and the former Russian republics.
Well, thank you for that. How about you, Mr. Salmon?
Yes, we also see a lot of the malware itself will come from servers that are also, in Russia and also.
So this is really an international issue as well as a domestic issue, I would argue. Now, suppose that some individual is the victim of malware. Mr. Stamos, does Yahoo have any responsibility for that?
We absolutely take responsibility for user safety, which is why we do all the work we do.
So someone loses their bank account, you reimburse them?
Here's Melissa and Aaron from TruthStream Radio. They break it down pretty good about the WIC program and how, yeah, they're getting government help and, but you can't even get healthy foods.
And it
So
has
it's
to
to kill
do
you,
with
really.
nutrition education for pregnant women and women who have children under the age of 5, and basically women who have low income. The Women, Infants, and Children program is a federal grant program. The USDA gives grants to states for supplemental foods, healthcare referrals, which has to do with immunizations, and nutrition education for low-income pregnant, breastfeeding, and non-breastfeeding postpartum women, and to infants and children up to age 5 who are found to be at a nutritional risk. It's a supplemental nutrition program that's on the side of food stamps. It's in addition to that. You don't have to have food stamps to get on WIC, you just have to be poor. But it's supposed to be a nutritional education program, and it's about making smart and healthy choices on what you eat. And this is the Texas brochure that I just picked up at a local H-E-B grocery store. And I just want to point out for a second that some of these choices are not going to scream health to you as soon as you look at it. I don't know how many people think that spraying a bunch of synthetic vitamins on some corn here with the Dora's head on it is, really a nutritional choice. But what I thought was interesting about this is that there are hardly any organic options in here. In fact, basically none. What you can get organic is fresh fruits and vegetables. That actually surprised me, and I'll tell you why in a minute. That is actually allowed. Organic is allowed. It says right there, organic allowed. But everything else in here, organic is not allowed. You can't get organic dairy products. You can't get organic eggs, cheese, nothing. Organic is specifically in the not allowed category. And in fact, they do promote breastfeeding at WIC, so that is a good thing that I'm totally behind. I breastfed my kids. I think that's what everyone should do, obviously. I mean, infant formula is made out of 50% like corn syrup solids, another 26% basically oils, and it's just a bunch of crap. But if you were to get infant formula through this program, if for some reason you can't breastfeed or whatever, you're still not getting organic. It says right there, it's not allowed. DHA, not allowed. Of course, DHA has its own tyranny. There's a whole hexane production thing going on with DHA, so it sounds healthy, but it's really, there's issues with it. But still, if you buy baby fruits and vegetables in a jar, organic, not allowed. It's on there. It's not allowed to have that. So you're not allowed to give that to your baby, and you're not allowed to have that when you're a pregnant woman. And I just think this is insane because we're saying we're teaching healthy choices. Smart choices for healthy families. These are the approved things. And the whole point is that this is a nutritional education program that's run through the government.
Warning.
We are teaching these pregnant women and women who have children under the age of 5. This is supposed to be to educate them on what to eat, how to eat healthy, and how to teach their children to eat healthy. And there's almost no value given to organic food whatsoever, even though study after study continues to come out that shows glyphosate kills human cells, that it's an estrogen mimicker, that it's an endocrine disruptor, that it's carcinogenic. I mean, continually there are studies that come out that show that glyphosate causes birth defects. And all kinds of animal studies, and Monsanto's own studies showed this. Okay, they've known it since the 80s. Okay, but we're not even going to educate anyone on that. We're going to set them up for a lifetime of health issues.
There's other guys that they look like, I don't know. This don't make no sense to everybody.
Up around here. This is my WIC folder. That's right, because I was a poor college student, and I was from a small rural Missouri town, and what you do when you're poor and you're from a small town, you go get on WIC. And so I did, and I actually ended up dropping out because I woke up around this time, and I realized all the stuff that was going on with how food is used against people in this country. And I quit, but this is supposed to be an educational nutrition program, like I said. And it says right here, WIC participant rights. The number one right you have is for nutrition education. This is how it works. They give you this folder. Of course, now it's probably a little bit different, but what they did for me at the time was they give you a folder, and then you have your dates on here where you have to come in to your appointments where you're educated, and there's my Post-it note for the appointments that I probably stopped going, because I just stopped going. I didn't even use my little vouchers. I still have them, see? They give you this voucher, and see, it tells you how, you can have 2 gallons of milk and a dozen eggs and several ounces of cereal. They take this folder with you to the store, and they fill it out in line, and then the people, it's kind of like having a red scarlet letter A for being poor. The people behind you get really frustrated. It takes a long time to fill out. But the point is that I'm making here is that, look, it says eating well and staying healthy, and it has a picture of a pregnant woman on it. And of course, this has probably changed in Missouri since then, but this is from 2008. There is nothing in here that's organic that's allowed. Nothing. You can get all of this cereal, you can get all this juice. I mean, there's all these options you have, so it looks like you have all these options, but then when you go
down there in one of those catacombs, there's other guys that they look like, I don't know. This don't make no sense to everybody.
Breastfeeding, you can get carrots, but you're not allowed to have organic carrots. So they're going to teach you from early on, and the people that get these programs are mostly uneducated, poor, young women who are pregnant. I'm thinking about signing up for WIC, but I wanted to ask, I had looked at the brochure, and I noticed that it doesn't really offer a lot of organic choices, and I was wondering why that is. Because it says smart choices and healthy families, and it's talking about nutrition and education and stuff, and I'm just wondering why there's not a lot of organic options on there, because I've read a lot about the stuff they put on conventional food. And it seems like a lot of those pesticides cause birth defects and they're endocrine disruptors and they cause cancer and stuff. And it just seems like there'd be more organic choices.
Yeah, I understand that. Basically,
here's real news from YouTube, and here they talk with Danny Glover, and I don't think I let the clip play out enough, but it's really about which side media's on, and it's pretty interesting because we all know that they're on the side of money, because money makes the world go round. In news, people watch big fucking media news and shape their opinions.
To discuss the mainstream media and whose side they're really on. Now joining us here in studio are our guests, James Early. To the left, he is the Director of Cultural Heritage Policy at the Smithsonian Center for Folk Life and Cultural Heritage. Prior to his work with the Smithsonian, Mr. Early was an administrator at the National Endowment for Humanities in Washington. He was also the host of 10 Minutes Left, a weekly radio segment of cultural, educational, and political interviews and commentary at Howard University's radio station. He is also a former member of the board of Trans Africa. Please join me in welcoming Mr. James Early. And next to him, you might recognize his face. That is Danny Glover. He's an actor and film director. Mr. Glover is well known for his roles in The Color Purple and action.
This is some late breaking shit. New Haven, Connecticut, right around my way. We just went to the sink and there's fucking brown, fucking nasty, contaminated type water. Now we went to the neighbor. They are checking right now, so could be just my house, knowing that it's an old Victorian. But
the obvious threat to untold numbers of citizens, and because of the crisis which is even now developing, this radio station will remain on the air day and night. This station and hundreds of other radio and TV stations throughout this part of the country are pooling their resources through an emergency network hookup to keep you informed of all developments.
The ghost and the darkness have come.
Strike up the gear. Aloha, konnichiwa, hasta la vista, hasta the way goes, peace, ciao, sayonara, good golden journey, see you on the flippity flip, like, comment, share it down, as much as you possibly can, do it 8 or 10 times and tell your friends and tell your friends, unless you just want to be lied to and listen to the same 20 jams in a row, one of my guys, Goldendebateshow and GoldTho, we in and out like that, it's fucking clockwork now, dude. Take care of yourself and others and remember to distract everybody.
Yielding strokes, laser lights, look at my gold. One more, tone it up. No, he said, we're talking like this, talking like that, we're talking. Golden Debate Show, Golden Debate Show. Show, Golden Debate Show. We like this. We're talking hood. Draw no line. MC better talk with bitch ass. You know we're coming after that. Golden Show, Golden Brothers,
Down in one of those catacombs. There's other guys, but they look like, I don't know.
Golden.
This don't make no sense, everybody.